All right, guys, welcome to the Digital Barbell Podcast. Thank you for being here. Blakley's got to get our back light turned on. We are ready to go. We are back with another question and answer episode. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you should, because we have some like visual aids that we're going to bring in later having to do with one of these questions.
What do you have? Oh.
Just look down there on the ground. Blakley's got her newly purchased Buc-ee's cup. You're going to see more about this cup in an upcoming behind the scenes on our YouTube channel.
This cup came with a beer pong ball.
Yeah, that was weird. Like, what do they expect you to do with one ping pong ball, whether you're playing beer pong or not? I thought that was just kind of weird.
I love this cup. If you're not watching, it looks like a red Solo cup.
It's big, though.
That Yukon brand is what they make their cups out of. So it's the insulated. It has a rubberized bottom, so it sticks to the table. It has a lid. It keeps your ice cold. I mean, I might be over Stanley for this.
Did we already say it says Buc-ee's on it?
$10 mug here.
Yeah,
Buc-ee's.
This YouTube video that is in production right now. We drove to another neighboring town a couple hours away from here last week and picked up Blakley's mom, and we thought it would be fun to stop at a gas station and figure out like what's the healthiest thing you can buy in a gas station. So that's going to be the video content, part of it, coming up in this next episode.
But then we admitted that Buc-ee's is not like a regular gas station, of course. I mean, I'm sure people know about Buc-ee's these days. They're spreading all over the United States.
You can get a plate of ribs and a plate of fudge.
But you still came out with the concept of like, it's just hard to make good decisions in places like that because they're overwhelmed. It's like 98% tempting stuff, and then there might be like a few 2% good decision.
Yeah, it's not that there aren't good choices at those places. It is really, really hard to make them because
to pick them out.
Yeah. So anyway, check that out.
Or you should just get a cool cup and be done with it.
Yeah. Like I said, this is a Q&A episode. We got a sponsor for today. This was brought on at the last minute after our weekly meeting with Coach Haley. She actually found these guys for us. We're sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts. Welcome to the podcast, guys. I think the Dunkin' Donuts commercial was probably the best one of the Super Bowl.
That one was really funny.
Yeah, I mean, Ben, how do you say his name? Ben Affleck or Ben Affleck? I don't know how you say it, but he's been
go either way, it seems like.
Doing a lot of stuff with Dunkin' lately, and this was just a really funny one.
And Tom Brady.
Tom Brady was in there. Controversially, maybe, Haley called Dunkin' Donuts like the Walmart of coffee.
Well, we were talking about like, because she lives in the East Coast, and I was like, I'm surprised they even have Starbucks up there because Dunkin' is like so prevalent. And she was just like, said like, I was like thinking about it, like we have Dunkin' Donuts around here too, and it's not like a place where you're gonna go sit down and work for a few hours in a Dunkin'. To me, Dunkin', you go in there and it feels like you're in a fast food restaurant, like a Dairy Queen or something. And Starbucks obviously does not have that feel. It's just really because they serve like food, I think.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to sponsor us again since we just basically dissed them. But we might get some heat from our East Coast clients though, because like you said, Dunkin' is huge up there.
There is a Dunkin' right by my gym in Houston. And for a little bit, I was getting like a coffee thing there, maybe like an iced coffee. I can't remember what I was getting. I had like the little card. But I do remember when I just posted, it was like 2015 when I took my level 2 in Boston, and I was super excited to try Dunkin' Donuts like up there for some reason. So like there was one day where I got off the gym early and I went and got a Dunkin' coffee, and it was like a Wednesday or something when they were giving away a free donut. And I got this donut and I drove to like the beach and I was like going to sit there and, on the East Coast with my coffee and my Dunkin' donut. And honestly, I didn't finish the donut.
They're overrated.
We have Shipley's donuts down here. And I was like, this free donut is not even worth it.
Yeah. I had the same impression the first time I had a Dunkin' donut. I was like, give me a Krispy Kreme or a Shipley's any day.
Shipley's donut is where it's at.
I think it's an acquired taste or something like that. So anyway, welcome to the podcast, Dunkin' Donuts. I just think about if new people are finding this podcast all the time, and we don't do a great job like introing, like, I'm Jonathan, you're Blakley. We help people get in the best shape of their life. We
talking about
get right into it, and they're like, what Dunkin' did I just stumble upon here? Talking about Buc-ee's cups and Dunkin' Donuts.
Stapler.
Thought this was a fitness podcast. All right, why don't we get right into these cues?
All right, I like this first question.
This was submitted by my client, Wayne.
Does Blakley ever let you drive the truck?
She tries not to. Why don't you tell everybody what the system is? Because, we've been married almost 22 years at this point. It'll be 22 years this month.
Want to be 21?
No, we got married in
Oh, yeah,
2002.
22.
Where was I going with that? Okay, yeah. Up until this point, we've always been a 2 or more car family.
We always each had our own cars.
Yeah, we had our own jobs. We didn't work together 100% of the time, except for some when we were remodeling houses. But anyway, we each had our own cars, and now we only have this one F-250 Super Duty. So it's the only car.
A weird. It's just, it still blows my mind that this is the only car we have. I mean, when we moved to Wimberley, we had 3 different cars than this. I'm like, our car situation has been evolving as we,
darn
and
these
it's
campers.
all due to these campers. But anyway,
now we are a 1-car family, so only one of us can drive at a time, right?
And it kind of used to be like when we went, Jonathan always drove a truck for work and stuff like that because he was in construction. And so when we just went to somewhere together, we always just went in my car. You know, I used to have a 4Runner, and then before that I had like a Land Cruiser, kind of older one. But anyway, we would just like go, I would drive and we would go in my car. So there was no like calling who drove or anything like that. It was just like,
you would let me drive your car occasionally.
Yeah, but we rarely like went anywhere in your truck. So now we have this one car, and so my rule is you have to call it on the day of, like I usually get up in the morning and say, I call driving.
Even if we have nowhere planned to go.
So if we plan to go somewhere, I'm going to drive.
So, and plus, like when we record content, like through video for the YouTubes or whatever, like typically I'm the one behind the camera.
Yeah.
And that's a little safer to do when you're not driving. So that's another reason.
He's always on his phone or receiving phone calls or doing something. It's just easier if I drive. I'm better at it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that.
Better at parking it.
Definitely not better at parking it. You're still getting the hang of this big truck.
I'm definitely better at parking it.
So that's the story of why Blakley always seems to be driving when you see us. When you see us driving somewhere.
My mom's been here for a week, and she's like, "These are our assigned seats."
All right, so there's that one. That was an easy one.
That was a good one. All right, what is the deal with blood flow restriction bands?
What's the deal?
Should I be using them?
Okay, hold on. Let me grab.
Here's where we have the visual aids.
Bear with me, I'm sore. Okay, so blood flow restriction bands. I'm holding my set up right here. I'm gonna hold this up to the camera. It just says BFR band on it. And as you can see, this is just a canvas.
Do the Velcro on.
This is a canvas Velcro strap that you can put around a body part and then tighten it down to different levels. It has numbers.
It has numbers like 1 through 10
inside that show you how tight you're making it. So why the heck would you have these or want to use them? These are a temporary tool in my mind to be used like when you're trying to work around an injury. That's how I use them. Basically, they allow you to continue to train, build muscle, and build strength through like accessory exercises when you are working around that injury, because the 3 main things that contribute to being able to get stronger and build muscle are having a mechanical tension on the muscle, meaning like there is a weight that you are moving through a range of motion that's causing your muscle to work. You got to have that. And then you have to have metabolic stress. This is the chemical reaction that happens inside the cells during a set that gives the hormonal signal that this muscle needs to grow. It's basically water flushing into the muscle, giving the cell the signal. If you've ever felt like the pump during a set of an exercise, that's the swelling of the cells inside the muscle. And then the third thing you have to have is muscle damage. This is like the small micro tears in the muscle that set off the signal to send amino acids, proteins to that damaged muscle to rebuild it and make it stronger. We've got to have those 3 things to make a muscle grow. So if you have a joint pain or if you have tendonitis, you are really limited in putting any mechanical tension in the range of motion because it's hurting you. So like, let's say normally you could do a set of dumbbell curls with 30 pounds, and that's the weight that allowed you to get a good mix of those 3 things to make muscle grow. Well, what are you going to do if you can't lift that weight? Well, we can interrupt or accentuate the other 2 things. What are you looking at outside?
The Super Duty.
You look super distracted. You're distracting me by looking past me, looking outside. Basically, the blood flow restriction band allows you to kind of bypass putting a lot of mechanical tension on your muscle and emphasize the metabolic stress element. And the reason it does that, let me grab it again.
Okay.
Is you're basically going to put this above the muscle that you're trying to work, and you're going to cut off the blood supply to that muscle during the exercise.
So for example, I've seen you use them a lot when you like have tendonitis and you can't grip it, you want to do some curls.
Right.
So where are you going to put this on your body for curls?
So I would put it above the muscle that I'm trying to work,
Above the bicep.
above the joint. And basically, so this would go up here at my shoulder,
Yeah.
right below my shoulder, above my bicep.
And then you're going to grab usually you use this with you're going to grab the 12s or the 15s or something.
Right. So this allows me to use a lighter weight that doesn't hurt the joint or hurt the tendon that's affected. And it still allows me to quickly do a lot of metabolic stress and muscle damage because the cutting off of the blood supply doesn't allow the metabolite buildup like lactic acid in the muscle to get flushed out. So you're increasing the speed with which you reach fatigue with a light weight. Now, you can't use this everywhere because if you just think about it, let's say I have a hurt shoulder, how am I going to get this band to cut off the blood supply to my shoulder? Or I have a hurt glute and I want to, you can't, I'm not going to put this around my waist and somehow cut off the blood supply between my heart and my glute. So these have their limitations, but they can definitely allow you to continue to train around injuries. I would do some looking on the YouTubes and on the Googles about how tight to get them. You want to kind of experiment with what feels good for you. And I would start off, if you're going to try these to work around something, start off more conservative than you think you should, because you don't want to start getting numbness and tingling in your limbs. And I even take these off between sets just to make sure that blood gets back into the muscle that I'm trying to work. I'm not trying to run through 3 sets of bicep curls and build up all of that metabolite across all 3 sets. I let it flush out between sets.
Is there anything other than curls that you've used this for with success?
Yeah, let's see. I've actually put them on in the same place as curls and done lateral raises. Even though it's below the muscle that's being worked, I did feel more buildup in that area. That's really all I've ever used it for is for some shoulder stuff and for some bicep work, because anytime I'm using these, it's because I'm working around tennis elbow or golfer's elbow. As you know, if you've ever had that, it's almost debilitating to the point where you feel like you can't lift anything. So you still might be able to do something with 5 or 10 pounds if you're using these blood flow restriction bands. So that's basically how it works. Start slow. Just start with a couple sets of each exercise that you're trying to work around and see how it goes.
Okay. All right. Great question. Next one. I've lost about 25 pounds since last summer. Over the last couple of months, I've kind of plateaued and even seen my average weight trending up. Would you recommend I refine What would you recommend I refine to get things moving again?
Good question. I think the first thing I would question is let's define what that plateau is. And I like the way that person said this because they said over the last couple months, I've kind of plateaued. That's the right time frame we should be looking for. Your weight not changing for a week is not a plateau. Your weight not changing for 2 weeks even is not a plateau. Fat loss doesn't work in this linear fashion where it's I ate less yesterday, I should weigh less today. It happens over the longer term. So I think this person's approaching it from a healthy perspective, first of all. So how did they say it exactly? What would you recommend
I refine?
Okay. So basically they're at this point where, the plateau basically means your energy input and your energy output, they're matched up to meet the energy demands for whatever your weight is right now. We talked about this kind of on the episode with Alex last week. So basically, we got to change one of those 2 variables if we're going to get the needle moving in either direction. You can either do more or you can eat less. So we have to look at your lifestyle and be okay, which one of those seems more feasible for you? Are you only training 2 or 3 times per week and you have more time to train? Let's throw an extra training session in, increase your activity, your calorie burn through exercise a little bit, and you can probably continue to eat about the same amount that you are now, and we'll break through the plateau. We can keep your training schedule the same and try to introduce a little bit more non-exercise activity, some on-purpose walks or, a jog every couple days, something like that. That's putting more emphasis on the calories outside of the equation. If that's not feasible for your lifestyle, then we have to go to the energy side in of the question. And I wouldn't just go straight to be let's cut calories. There's a couple things I would look at first before you do that, because cutting calories to get the needle moving is kind of the final straw. Once you cut calories, there's really nothing else you can do past continuing to cut calories to break through. So I would look at how much protein you're eating. You know, protein has a higher thermic effect than carbohydrates and fat, meaning like you're going to burn more calories extracting the nutrients out of protein, and it's probably going to take the place of some less nutritious calories that you might eat otherwise. So if you're only getting, you know, in the 0.7, 0.8 grams of protein per pound per day range, which is enough, let's try bumping that up to 1.2 grams of protein per pound. And even if you're not tracking your food in MyFitnessPal, you can just do a spot check and see like how much protein am I eating per day. That can get the needle moving. The other thing I would say is how much processed food are you eating? How many of the calories, how many of the food choices that you're making each day are coming from processed foods? Those are always going to be more calorie dense and less filling. So maybe if we can pull the emphasis on eating some of those foods and substitute them out for less processed versions. Timely that this podcast is sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts. But, you know, let's try to substitute some of the processed foods for less processed stuff and see if that moves the needle a little bit. The other thing I would look at before cutting calories is how many meals are you eating out at restaurants? As we all know,
something we don't have control over.
Right.
I mean, the calories we don't have control over.
Yeah. And this isn't even like, quote, don't eat bad food. This is like, you know, I'm going to Chick-fil-A and I'm getting the healthy grilled chicken sandwich. All right, let's keep eating grilled chicken sandwiches, but let's see how many of those we can make ourselves. That's automatically going to have less calories without you focusing on, quote, eating less calories. It's just going to take the control back into your own hands. Another thing that's not necessarily associated with just eating less or cutting calories is looking for the little random things throughout the day that don't really register that you're eating, that have calories in them, that aren't your actual meals. So I'm talking about, you know, you're making your kids lunch and you eat 3 bites as you're making it. You're chopping up whatever for dinner and you eat 6 bites of it while you're chopping it up. It's just the little habitual things that we do throughout the day that, you know, they add up. And we can cut them out without feeling more hunger or feeling deprived, but it could help you break through that plateau too.
I have to go rescue a dog real quick. Look how close she is.
She's laying on the heater over there. Poor dog. Okay, so at some point in time, you've exhausted all these like more hacky type things that you can do that are just about reducing calories, and we got to actually go deliberately in and attack some calories. So if your body weight is maintaining, we got to get you down into a calorie deficit. And for most men, you can do that by just reducing your daily calories by about 300 to 500 per day. That'll result in about 3/4 pound to 1 pound a week on average if you stick with it. So instead of just like being like obsessed about, I got to track every little single thing throughout the day so I can find this 300 or 500 calories, I would just look at your daily habits and be like, where are 300 calories I can probably live without? Are you having a couple alcoholic drinks every night? Well, maybe we could go down to 1. Boom, there's 150 calories right there. Are you snacking on chips? Like, boom, let's cut the chip quantity in half. There's another 150 calories.
Like I said, or the method I like to use a lot is just like take less rice, take less oatmeal, take less potatoes, just a little bit less of these helpings of things, and you don't really feel like you're affecting your overall.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it too. Look for simple things that you can drop out that you won't miss, and or just bring down quantities of. I would prefer you pull down carbs a little bit if you're going to be reducing the portions, only because we don't want you bringing down the total amount of protein that you're eating. All right, so between all those things, you are surely going to break through this plateau. Blakley will be back with us in a moment. Our dog is obsessed with going over and laying right next to the heater right now, which is not a safe place for the dog to be laying.
Yes. She's going to the vet later, and she had to take some medicine,
some sedatives.
Yeah, and
She's
she is like laying on top of this heater, and like her ear was like laying on the heater. I was like, no.
Probably feels pretty good.
It does, but she's not acting like herself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next.
Alkaline water. Gimmick or the real deal?
Yeah, this one came in from a client a long time ago, and I forgot to talk about it. And I researched this a long time ago, back when you accidentally drank a bunch of it.
Some alkaline water.
And I researched it at the time, but I just kind of forgotten about it. But apparently, it's still a really big thing. And
there's a store here in town that we have to fill water bottles here, to get our drinking water, and it's like a store for 100% alkaline water.
And it's all over the grocery store shelves. What's that? Essentia? Is that the main brand of it?
Yeah. And there's a restaurant here that that's what you get if you order water. I'm like, no, I just want the regular. I've only had one experience with it because I had some girls at my gym were using that water and I got it and it was like Christmas Day and I had it with me and I was just guzzling water Christmas morning and I got like this brick pit stomach ache and my brother looked down and he's like, "You're drinking alkaline water." And I was like, "What?" Like,
yeah. So like anecdotally, like in an N=1 experiment here, Blakley,
I'm like against it now,
0
but
out of 10 would not recommend. But I mean, I don't think it's having that effect on that many people, or else it still wouldn't be available to buy it if everybody felt
and
like
it could have been some other else. It would just
could have been that can of beans you ate right before you drank all that water. Okay, but
what's the deal?
So I looked it back up again so I could kind of refresh my memory. So like think back to science class, like everything exists on this spectrum of like acidity to alkalinity.
Yeah.
So basically what they do with this water is they run it through an ionizer that separates out the molecules in the water, and then they filter off the acidic molecules or some percentage of the acidic molecules, leaving it with a higher pH towards the alkalinity side. So why would you want to do that?
Yeah.
Well, the theory behind it is that if you reduce your blood acidity, you will turn cells over faster. You will look younger.
So it's for recovery?
Live longer. Not necessarily for recovery, just for longevity, because you're reducing your blood acidity. I mean, this is what the claims are behind why people think it works. They claim that it improves digestion. I think you would argue differently on that one. I mean, some of the claims are even that it can go as far as preventing cancer. Unfortunately, as far as the research goes, none of these things are backed up in research in humans. And even in mice, like the results are really questionable. I think it just kind of comes down to like sometimes companies will throw something out that makes a little bit of logical sense.
Yeah.
And then just like the marketing is just like pushed on that logical sense. It's kind of like the collagen protein thing. Like we know skin contains collagen. Like eat a lot of collagen protein, like your skin's going to look amazing.
Yeah.
Makes logical sense, right? Well, when we look at the science, that's not exactly how it works. Like we have these things in our body called kidneys and lungs that help like monitor our blood acidity level. They do a really good job at it. There's actually a really tiny tolerance that your blood acidity has to stay in for you to stay alive. So it's not like you can drink this alkaline water, even if there was a benefit to it, and push your blood further away from acidity, like you're running at the top of the alkalinity scale, therefore you're going to be like the pinnacle of health. No, you would die. Your kidneys and your lungs do a good job of keeping you in this narrow range, regardless of what supplement you throw into it. It's kind of like, adding electrolytes to your water. It's like your body has ways to deal with. We wouldn't be alive as a species if our bodies couldn't adapt to all the modern food environment that we have and the crazy things that we throw at it. You add 3 grams of salt to your daily sodium intake through these electrolyte powders. Your body has ways to compensate for that. Otherwise you would die. Like you can't just push your body past the range of normal with supplements to optimize things. Like, no, we have safeguards in place and you're not doing yourself any favors just by trying to bypass that for whatever health reason you think that you're getting. So skip the alkaline water. Plus it's like really expensive. Like who has money to burn on these kinds of things,
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess people do, because look, Athletic Greens wouldn't be in business if it wasn't for that. All right. Hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, email Blakley. She'll give you her review of alkaline water.
All right. If I'm going to do 3 sets of 5.
Why am I talking so much in this episode? You answer some of these questions.
If I'm going to do 3 sets of 5 reps on bench press, is it better to do them at the same weight or go up each set?
This is a client didn't ask this question, but I have answered this question for a client before, because I kept prescribing him 3 sets of 5 he was doing bench press, and I kept noticing like he kept doing like 225, 235, 245 for his 3 sets of 5. And I would be like, hey, let's stick with
like
220. Let's do our,
like,
what will be the reason that you don't want to do it that way? The main reason is it's harder to know that you're progressing through progressive overload that way. It's much more to keep track of, and you're never going to know how to get past the sticking point if you're doing it that more random way. I know like it's not random that you're adding 10 pounds every set, but let's say you do 235, 245, 255, and you don't get your set of 5 on the 255. Now we're left scratching our head like, well, do we need to add more volume to the lighter weight? Do we need to do a back off set at the higher weight? If we had just progressed this in a more linear fashion, like let's do 235 for 3 sets of 5. Next week, let's do 240 or 245 at all 3 sets of 5.
Yeah.
It gives a cleaner way to do progressive overload, and you know how to get past the sticking point should you get there. Would you agree with all that?
For sure. Yes.
I think it's this mentality that we want to do as much as we can in each workout. I want to make sure that last set is as heavy as I can go. But really you're setting yourself back in the long term when you do it that way. It takes more patience to add 5 pounds or add 10 pounds every week, but it's going to keep you safer, and it's going to give you,
and it's going to keep you getting stronger for longer.
Exactly. Right. And if you can learn to find reward in the process of adding a little bit each week, sticking with going across the same weight, all 3 sets, you're going to find more enjoyment in the process long term too. You're going to get less frustrated. Yeah.
And it's a rep scheme that you probably won't do forever, but while you're doing it, take advantage of the simplicity of a 3x5 linear progression and kind of ride it out as long as you can. And then there will be a time whenever you're unable to add weight, several weeks go by and you're unable to add weight, and then it's time to change up the rep scheme, and attack it from a different way.
There definitely is a time and place for ascending sets. We're doing ascending sets in our
sets with our training
right
for our clients right now. But they've put in their time for some linear progressions.
And there's nothing magical about it being 3x5. But the point is, if your training program is designed to be 3x5 sets across at the same weight so that you can add load in the next workout, you're going to get the most benefit by following that plan than just building in sets arbitrarily.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Last question.
Oh gosh. I don't even know if I'm going to read this one out loud. I'm not reading.
You want me to read it? What do you guys look for in a Coffice? I like to
I saw someone commented on that YouTube video about, I was like, don't encourage it. Don't encourage him to make up these words.
If nobody knows what we're talking about here, sometimes when we go work at a coffee shop, I will take a picture of where we're at and tag that we're working at a mobile Coffice and hashtag Coffice.
Did you make that up or you heard it somewhere?
I think I actually stole it from Jordan Feigenbaum because he likes to go work at coffee shops a lot too. So anyway, Coffice is just a coffee shop that we're working at. It's a coffee office. Mm-hmm. What do we look for in a Coffice? What are your main things that you look for?
I mean, honestly, I need a lot of activity in a Coffice.
Yeah. So the opposite is some of the local coffee shops we go into, and we're the only ones, us and the barista or the owner are the only ones in there. And after 15 minutes, Blakley's like, let's go somewhere else.
We gotta go.
What are we going to do? Go somewhere else and get another coffee?
Yeah. No, I like a fairly big space. I like a space where you're not right up on the cashier, you're you have room, honestly, because I like to bring my own snacks. I order coffee, and then I like
sometimes
to bring
multiples.
A snack. Yes, I'll order coffee from.
So you want to be far away from the cashier so they don't see you.
No, I just like space. I like a lot of people. I like aesthetically pleasing scenery. We've been going to this one at 2 towns away, and it's beautiful. There's just a skylight, there's hanging plants everywhere. I like when they have good music on, not too loud, but just something that you know, and I just
what kind of music do you like to hear?
I don't like instrumental type stuff. I like.
You mean elevator music?
Yeah, I like.
What about
No. I think most people who run a good coffee shop, they know what kind of music people like to listen to. Something that you're like, oh, I know this song,
Sometimes when we go to Blanco Brew here in town, they'll be playing the entire Kelly Clarkson album or something like that.
Yeah, sometimes places will play a full album. And I think that's cool too.
If you like the person, then it's good.
Yeah, that's true. It's
What about what you look for in their actual offerings of products?
Oh, I mean, as long as they have a latte or an iced latte and stuff like that, I'm good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why I'll bring most of the time it's just I'm fine. If we just have a coffee there, but if I start to get hungry, I bring an RX bar or something, because I'm I don't want to get a pastry. And, you know, some of these places will, I know like Starbucks, well, they carry perfect bars and different kind of bars. Like if they carried something like that, I would totally purchase. But like a lot of times it's just like a coffee and pastries.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a little bit annoying when they
and I don't want
only
to use
have...
it as an excuse to, oh, I'm hungry. I might as well get a scone.
Yeah.
Not pointing any fingers, but
she's pointing at the nutrition coach over here that sometimes likes to have a scone at a coffee shop. Hey, look, I practice flexible dieting. Also, I can occasionally have a scone and fit that within my nutrition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would echo all those things. I too like when it's kind of like bumping in there, like there's a lot of activity. For the opposite of most people, like that helps me focus more.
Well, I mean, we just went.
Oh, I thought of something else. That's
we just took my mom. We were like, my mom's been visiting, and like she knows that we go work in coffee shops, and so it's like such a cool way to go see a new city. Like where we live, we can drive to like a bunch of different cities within a short amount of time, within 30 minutes. So I'm like, okay, let's pick a city, go to a coffee shop, work. And we can like walk around the city, and it's just like so cool. So we went to this city called Lockhart. They're famous for barbecue here in Texas. Super, super small town. Like we drove 25 minutes through nothing. And then I'm like, what's going to be here? And we get to the city, super cute town square. They had this little bitty coffee shop, Chaparral, shout out. And it was bumping. Like the lady worked there, and it was just like maybe like 6 or 7 tables. But
tiny.
Like people were working from in there. 3 people that came in, the lady like knew their orders. You know, people were bringing like their dogs in. I mean, it was just like, that's what I like about a coffee shop. It's just like lively, like people know people, and like we stroke up a conversation with somebody. Like it's just, that's why I like being out in the world. Yeah. And then you see a whole new city. Yeah.
I'll add a couple of things. This is probably the longest answer to a question I've interviewed today.
It's exciting. I love it.
The seating makes a big difference. I don't like places that have chairs with no back support. I don't want to sit on a picnic bench and try to work for an hour or two. And I really appreciate when places have a stand-up option. Like, when I hurt my back a couple weeks ago, sitting down.
We were like, okay, thinking through all the coffee shops around us, like which ones have like the higher desk where you could stand.
If you have a bar, here's the ideal situation. It's like the coffee bar in San Marcos. They have a bar height place to sit that has optional chairs with back support at the bar.
Yeah, and
so
a cushy
you can
chair.
sit for a while, and then you can kick the chair back, and you can stand for a while. If you're opening a coffee shop, you save this episode because you're getting free market research as to what coffee connoisseurs and people who work a lot from coffee shops really want.
And you know what I don't like in a coffee shop for me personally is a couch.
No,
I'm not going to sit on the couch and work.
I mean, neither. Not a big couch sitter.
And so when places have the big couch with the big rug and the big chairs, to me, that's like wasted usable space, because you're not going to sit, like a bunch of strangers aren't going to sit on that couch together. And
you can't
it's
nap.
hard to work from a couch.
It's frowned upon to nap in there on the couch.
If you have the space for it, you can have a couch. But if you're limited on space. Plus, as like kind of a bit of a germaphobe, like soft surfaces like that, there's no way they're cleaning that very well. Like, that doesn't worry me. It's just like the space to me. It's just like the how you're taking away a bunch of tables by having this living room scene in here.
Right. But I could see people would get together for coffee and want to sit and talk.
Yeah. I guess not everybody's working.
Those people.
What is this? Oh.
This concludes this episode of Coffee Talk. Make sure you don't miss the next episode.
I was thinking about the Friends show, though. I mean, they always sat on the couch there. So yeah, they were just hanging out.
Yeah. Central Perk. Mm-hmm. Okay. One last thing about food. I put together 10 high protein smoothie recipes.
Okay.
We used to be huge smoothie people, and I know they're convenient for a lot of people, and they're really good for like a pre-workout or a post-workout convenient thing, especially if you like need to drink it after your workout because you're going to be out on the road. You could put it in your fancy Buc-ee's cup. It'll stay cold. So I turned it into a PDF. I'll put the link for where you can download it for free in the show notes. These range between 25 and 50 grams of protein per smoothie. I included 2 or 3 vegan options, and I included the calories and the macro breakdown for each of the 10 smoothies too.
Busy.
So anyway, all right. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Q&A. If you ever want to get a question in and get it answered on an episode, just shoot us a message on Instagram and we'll file it away and get to it. All right. Have a good day.